My name is Roderick Barton. I am the humble president of the Atlanta Chapter of National Black MBA Association. On behalf of our members and our board members, we want to welcome you to our first annual Women's Leadership Summit.
Oh, no, I didn't realize it was the first. You gotta be the first.
I would like to send out a special thanks to our members of our national staff. We have Ms. Deanna Hamilton, Ms. Demetria Ali, and Ms. Paulina Fontana, I'm sorry, for our national staff. Thank you all for being a part. I also want to recognize all of our board members of the chapter. If you could, please stand and be recognized. All right. So this event would not be possible with the support of our corporate partners, and we would like to recognize them at this time. SAP.
Yeah, the shoes.
Starbucks. Bank of America. Chick-fil-A. Delta Airlines, and Microsoft.
All right.
We also like to recognize some of our supporting partners, which are Legal Shield and Medicare Pro coverage, Medicare Coverage Pro, for also the support as well. Finally, congratulations. Finally, congratulations to the Planning Committee, led by Ms. Sonia Starling Ward, for putting on the great. This event is not only powerful, but compelling in our time, and we will be remiss to not recognize them for all the hard work they have done to put this event on. And again, thank you for coming out, and at this time I would like to bring up Ms. Stallings Ward to bring the occasion.
I missed her.
Thank you, Roderick. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Isn't this so awesome?
Yeah.
I'm so happy right now. Thank you so much for being here. I know Roderick did the greetings, but I've been working with you guys for months, all the corporate partners. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to the company that I work for that actually promotes women, and that is SAP. SAP, can we give them a hand, please? Thank you so much for being here. And again, thank you for our long-term partners. We've been working with Chick-fil-A for many, many years. They've been a great supporter. Delta Airlines, Bank of America, and Starbucks. So can we give them a hand as well? Again, many of you do not know me, but my name is Sonia Stallings, and I'm the chair for this year's event. And this is our inaugural event, so it's a great event and a great turnout, and you made it possible. So thank you. So give yourself a hand, please. Each speaker today, each speaker has taken time out of their calendars to come and shed some insight to us today. I know all of us, or many of us, inspire to work in corporate America, and there's many challenges that we face from day to day. So today, I would like you to sit back, take some notes, take in everything that they have for us today, and start mapping out your career goals and talk about or internalize where you're trying to go and map out what they have to say today. Fair enough? I know we have many students here from our collegiate schools. Georgia State, are you here? How about Kennesaw State University? Georgia Tech in the house. Emory? I know a bunch of our schools, many of our schools are out on break, so next year we're going to have to plan to have this during the school season. Did I leave anyone out? Spelman! So again, we in Georgia State. Did I say Georgia State? Again, thank you for being represented here today, and thank you, Horace, for working with our 8 collegiate schools and getting them here and partner with them. We greatly appreciate it. So with that said, let's jump right into the program. So I'd like to introduce to you Jewel Parkinson and the glass breaks. Let's give her a hand. Let's get this party started. Jewel, can you come up? Joel is actually our North American head over HR, so it's a really big deal. She actually flew in from Philly to be with us today. Again, Joel Parkinson.
So SAP must be the founding sponsor for the principal.
Wow, the view from up here is just gorgeous. And thank you so much. I really want to extend my appreciation and also that appreciation of SAP to the National Black MBA Association. Thank you so much for having us, to the board, to the planning committee, and Sonia, my colleague, thank you so very much for this opportunity. This is a really important event, and I think it marks a milestone in terms of the focus. You know, some could say finally, the focus that we're seeing that's starting to permeate the work environment around advocating, promoting women in leadership. For more than 45 years, many of you know, I'm Joel Parkinson. As Sonia said, I lead human resources for SAP. I've been with the organization, this is my 20th year. And when I started, thank you. And when I started with SAP, you know, the organization's been in existence for about 46 years now, and we've really prided ourselves to be an innovative growth company. But that innovation, the source of that innovation is people. And the source of that innovation is also the diversity and inclusion, which is required in order to generate the creativity that allows us to be successful. And so at the root of any successful organization is people, but it's also having the foresight to know that it is the mixture of people with backgrounds, unique experiences, cultures, identities that actually make for market-leading results. So on behalf of also the shareholders that many of us in our organizations represent, it is precisely this moment and this time when I feel like there is a wake-up that's happening around us. As a leader in technology, SAP provides intelligent enterprise applications and networks that connects the back office to the front office. We do this across 300,000 customers in over 190 countries. But as a workforce, we are privileged to have 92,000 colleagues that reside in over 130 countries representing 150 nationalities around the world. And it is through this tapestry, this global community, that we are actually in the position to best try to understand our customers, to understand the communities of buyers, to understand what the needs are in the market. Today, 76% of the world's GDP runs through an SAP system. So we have tremendous reach, and again, that can only be fortified and enhanced, and we can only win in the market by having the best people. And so how do we go about doing that? We go about doing that through many ways, but it starts with an organizational culture. So at SAP globally, as well as in North America, we have been focused on a culture which is about building bridges, not silos, which is about embracing diversity, which is about staying curious, as that intellectual curiosity, that learning agility is also key and paramount in today's world. We also want to tell it like it is. This is being able to bring our authentic selves to work. It's being able to speak truth to power when needed. It's being able to offer recommendations and insights and perspectives of our customers and prospective customers. And it's also being able to keep our promises, the promises we have to each other, and then the promises that we have to our customers. So this, as a foundation, has really helped propel us. And the work doesn't stop there, because the culture, which we hope, again, is that fabric that brings us together, is also where we have the opportunity to look to promote and advance women in leadership. So I'd like to present a few of the examples of what we've been focused on in the organization. And I encourage this as a tremendous community to exchange best practices. How do we learn from each other? How do we take good ideas and scale them? I call them rinse and repeat. How do we rinse and repeat bright ideas that have a wonderful positive impact both on our workforce as well as our community at large? So it all starts with the goal. It's one thing to articulate, I think, a vision. We need a vision. At SAP, our vision is to help help the world run better and improve people's lives. And we take that seriously. Our software helps solve some of the world's most vexing challenges that we face as a global community. But with that said, it's also about walking the talk. So in 2012, our organization set a global goal. At the time, it may seem radical, but it pretty much was. It was to say by 2017, we would have 25% of our workforce comprised of women in leadership positions. And by the end of 2017, we hit that goal. And in fact, thank you. And in fact, in North America, we exceeded it, and we're at 30%. And right now, we're at 31%. And our goal is to continue to build on that percentage after percentage, year after year. This is a goal that we've articulated. This is a goal that's championed from our CEO down, Bill McDermott, and our executive board. And we even took an extra milestone, again, as a part of walking the talk. In 2016, we promoted our first 2 female executive board members to the board of SAP SE. And again, this was a huge milestone in terms of representing and reflecting the words. So how do we take the words and translate them into action? So surely it doesn't happen in isolation, and it doesn't happen alone. It takes a tremendous amount of leadership and support. And many of you may also have Business Women's Network, but I attribute a lot of our ability to advance women to our Business Women's Network. We have over 70 chapters, 12,000 members, and again, they help really articulate what the need is in the workforce, and they also advocate and provide awareness around the impact that we need to have. In addition to that, it's about enablement. As many of you know, nothing happens in isolation. We want to build the leaders of the future. We created an award-winning program called LEAP, Leadership Excellence Acceleration Program. And this program provides all of the tools and resources that individuals need to achieve their aspirations as leaders. In addition to that, mentorship and, most importantly, executive sponsorship. When business decisions are being made around advancement, progression, promotion, we need someone who's advocating for us. We need someone in that room who's going to articulate our names to make sure that our brand is represented. So having those, especially those executive sponsors, is really key. And so these are a few of the things that also culminated in SAP becoming the first technology company in the United States to be EDGE certified. EDGE stands for Economic Dividends for Gender Equality. And it was a global certification that was initiated at the World Economic Forum. And again, we embarked on it. They look at policies, they look at programs, they also look at the workforce environment, they look at culture. In addition, looking at pay equity. So we went through an extensive pay equity analysis. And so again, providing this trust, this transparency, and the foundation to really enable women to succeed in the workplace, and by extension, all of those who make up our diverse communities is very important. So with that said, I don't want to send you with the message that the job is over and the work is done. This is a journey. It's a long journey. There's a lot more that we want to do. There's a lot more that we intend to do. And I think through the strengths of communities and associations and partnerships that we can continue to cultivate, we will be such a force that we will see widespread progress made across not just the 25 industries that we serve as an organization, but across every part of the world and our communities. So I again want to thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. We have a fantastic panel coming up, and I'm really looking forward to learning more as well. So thank you.
And we do have someone from our diversity group that is actually going to be taking names for anyone that's interested in hearing more about SAP opportunities. So I did want to leave you with that. Charmaine Ward.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. My name is Charmaine Ward Milner, and I'm Director of Corporate Relations with Georgia Power. But tonight, I serve in a different role. I serve on the national board of the National Black MBA, and I'm so honored and so proud to also serve as the advisor for the Atlanta chapter. And I cannot tell you how full my heart is tonight, Roderick and Sonia and the rest of the Atlanta chapter board, for what you have done tonight. And the volunteers, I see so many people shaking their heads. This is amazing. And I'm so happy to see our headquarters staff here to go back and share what they have seen tonight, not just with the rest of headquarters, but with the other chapters across this organization to see what excellence looks like. So kudos. I will be introducing our moderator and our panelists tonight, so I'd like to start with our moderator. And that is Karen Greer. Karen is well known in the local television market and has a history of hands-on community involvement. She is the past president of the Atlanta Press Club and currently serves on the Board of Governors for the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. The Emmy Award-winning anchor is currently a member of the Magnolia chapter of the Lynx Incorporated, a board member of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, a member of the Greater North Atlanta chapter of Jack and Jill of America, and on the board of Sports of Giving, and a member of Alpha Kappa sorority, to name just a few. Throughout her career, she has been the recipient of numerous awards honoring both her professional work and her community contributions. In 2008, Karen was named one of Atlanta's 100 Women of Influence by the Atlanta Business League. Karen has appeared in several films, including Season of Purgatory, The Client, and the TV series Savannah. Help me welcome Karen Greer, our amazing moderator. Now, I have to tell you just a little backstory. Karen and I have known each other for so long, like high school. So we went to high school together in Chicago, so I just love it when we get to be on the same stage. I love that. Our next panelist, Karen is our moderator. Our panelist is Diane Finelli. Diane is Senior Vice President and General Manager, Platform Channels. In this role, she heads SAP's ISV, VAR, and startup businesses, working closely with...
It's okay, keep going.
Working closely with partners to build new SAP and partner sales channels and accelerate revenue growth, leveraging SAP's innovation platform, including analytics, database, SAP HANA, and SAP Cloud Platform. Diane joined SAP in March of 1994 and has 24 years of IT experience with a diverse background in go-to-market strategies, customer engagement, consulting management, pre-sales, and pre-sales management, as well as industry market development in North America and Asia, Pacific, Japan. Diane has extensive knowledge of SAP applications, cloud, and technology. Prior to joining SAP, Diane held financial and operational management roles at... I just read what they give me.
I didn't give it to you. I didn't do that.
Just like an anchor.
She is, see, I miss her calling. She's amazing. Prior to joining SAP, Diane held financial and operational management roles at Pincus Brothers Incorporated and Laventhal and Hort. Diane holds a Bachelor of Science degree from Drexel University. Please welcome Diane. Next, we have Michelle. Michelle is the SVP of Media Sales for BET Her, formerly Centric TV. She joined BET Her, a Viacom BET Networks company.
Thank you.
Exactly.
In July of 2000. All right, I'm going to go down. Thornton was instrumental in rebranding Centric as the first network designed for Black women. Woo! And the asset And yes, she is a huge Raiders fan. Thornton has authored 2 books, Strategic, Life and Career Winning Strategies for Women, and Strategic 2.0, Her Plan, Her Power, Her Purpose. Thorne received her Bachelor of Arts from Golden Gate University in May of 2017. She was honored with an honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters from her alma mater. She is a proud wife and mother and resides in New Jersey. Welcome, Michelle. Next we have Rob Duda. Rob serves Chick-fil-A by overseeing the business functions which are responsible for providing trusted supplies for over 2,000 restaurants in the United States and Canada. That responsibility includes ensuring product integrity, competitive costs, and a reliable distribution network to maintain continuous supply for the highest volume, quick service restaurant concept in the country. Prior to joining Chick-fil-A in 2004, Rob spent most of his career leading operations teams at the unit, market, and regional level through his roles at McDonald's, Wendy's, and Ruby Tuesday. The past 30 years have been filled with other responsibilities, including organizational strategy and planning, restaurant financial consulting, loss prevention, and strategic events leadership. A consistent theme throughout Rob's career has been his passion for developing the next generation of leaders in the food service industry. In 1986, Rob earned a communications degree from Southeastern Louisiana University, and in 2011, he completed the Advanced Management Program at Harvard University. Rob and his wife Lisa are empty nesters, living in Peachtree City.
Nice. I'm going to change mine to say that.
Clearly that was important, right? They have been married 29 years with 2 children and 1 grandson. Please welcome Rob. And of course, our 1 male on the panel. So we thank you so much. Our last but not least panelist is Mary Stokes. Mary is a 25-year financial services industry veteran, is a managing director and regional investment executive of institutional investments at U.S. Trust, Bank of America, Private Wealth Management in Atlanta. Stokes is responsible for the delivery of investment management services to clients of U.S. Trust, Philanthropic Solutions, and Bank of America Retirement Solutions. Other duties include coaching and developing portfolio strategies within the region, working with regional colleagues to grow business, as well as compliance and risk management oversight. Stokes also serves as a senior portfolio strategist for several institutional clients and is responsible for delivering fiduciary investment solutions to nonprofit endowments and foundations. In this capacity, she advises clients in developing comprehensive investment strategies to achieve client-designated objectives, recommends optimal portfolio and manager structures to implement clients' investment strategies, and monitors investment performance to ensure client objectives are met. Prior to joining U.S. Trust, Stokes served as a senior consultant for Mercer Investment Consulting and Capital Resources Advisors. She began her career in the banking industry as a capital markets expert with the controller of the currency. Stokes holds a BSBA in finance from the University of Denver. Please welcome Mary.
Wow.
And I'm sorry, I did not say last. Our last finalist, I would never forget Wanya. Wanya Lucas is president and CEO of Public Broadcasting Atlanta, where she oversees Atlanta's NPR, WABE, and PBS, ATL PBS stations, and 3 digital properties. Lucas led WABE's significant increase in award-winning local coverage and a dramatic increase in meaningful community engagement. Previously, Previously, Lucas was president and CEO for TV One. Serving in this role, she was the second African-American woman to be president and CEO of a national cable television company. Yes. Prior to joining TV One, Lucas held several positions at Discovery Communications, including Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for Discovery Channel and Science Channel, and Global Chief Marketing Officer. Prior to joining Discovery Communications in 2008, Lucas served as General Manager and Executive Vice President of the Weather Channel Networks. She's also held several executive positions at Turner Broadcasting System, as well as with CNN Radio, CNN Networks Worldwide, and Business Operations and Network Development for Turner Entertainment, and Vice President of Entertainment Marketing for TNT. Her other experiences include brand management roles for Coca-Cola and the Clorox Company. Lucas is a graduate of Georgia Institute of Technology with a BS in Industrial and Systems Engineering and the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania with an MBA in Finance and Marketing. The thing she is most proud of is she is the mother of 2 young adult daughters, Alexis and Sydney. Please welcome Wanya. That our moderator and our panelists that took their time to come tonight, and as they give their insights and they share their thoughts, that you know the place from where they come. So it's important that you understand the experiences that they've had to be able to share the insight that they're about to do. Please give them all another round of applause.
Thank you so very much for those warm, informative introductions. It is now 8 o'clock and we're done, ladies. No, really. Glad you do know who everybody is. Don't have to read the bios, but we are going to move right into the questions so that we can stay on time. We're going to start with this question about challenges for men and women who aspire to be in leadership roles. What do you think is the most significant barrier to female leadership? Diane, we're going to begin with you.
Great, well thanks. So for me, because I'm in a high-tech industry, there's not as many women as there should be. And I would ask all of you here to encourage your daughters, your wives, your sisters, your granddaughters, your nieces, I don't care. Get into the science, get into the areas of STEM. We need more women in STEM because as we are a diverse planet, there's innovation that's happening and we need more women to participate in it. And the other thing that I think is really important is, you know, being in a company, and as Jules said, we've done a lot at SAP to help women advance, and it's great. We're certainly not done the journey. But I would also say that look for opportunities as a woman to where you think you can excel, where you can achieve, and make it known that you are interested in doing that. Do not keep it a secret. Tell people you're interested, and you know what? It does happen. May not happen tomorrow, but it'll get you there.
Mary, same question for you. The biggest barrier for female leadership?
A lot of people would say one of the biggest barriers, particularly for women in leadership, is you know, you want to try and have it all, right? You want the career, you're a mother, you're a wife. So a lot of people think that being a mother is a barrier. And I would say that's not a barrier. And now there's another question that I'm going to respond to that where I'll talk about how I've overcome that challenge, right? Being a mother and being in leadership. I would say for women, the biggest barrier is not having the sponsorship. So whether it be a woman or a male, right? Having someone that really advocates you for what it is that you want to do. And so when I think about sponsorship, it's not necessarily just in what you do and the leaders that are around you and your everyday job, but it's also think about your volunteer activities or some of the things that you do outside of the office where you have the ability to bring your leadership qualities and skills to the table.
All right, thank you.
Can I just add a word to that?
You sure may.
You know, if you Google the definition of leadership, it has somebody who can create a vision. But you need to know what leadership looks like in your company and what the definition means where you are, because it's different everywhere. Trust me, leadership look different at CNN, and leadership look different at A&E, and leadership definitely looks different at BET. And if you don't know what it is, you're not gonna win.
And Michelle, with that said, think of the many amazing women, civic organizations, business leaders, corporate, government, nonprofit. Who would you say is a woman leader that inspires you or has inspired you in the past?
You know what? This is gonna maybe sound a little cliche or crazy, but my grandmother taught me so many lessons, and she never stepped foot in corporate America. And I'm gonna say this, a lot of people that don't look like leaders are in charge of your leaders. And I spoke at my company the other day, and I was like, if you don't know the name of his administrative assistant and not treating her kindly, then you will not win. So I can sit here and say, oh, there's so many great women leaders, and I look up to them, but I'm keeping it real. We walk past people every day and ignore them because they don't have on a suit and tie. So influence and leadership sometimes look the same. So I'm gonna keep it real and say, y'all gotta look around and pay attention. The first chapter in my book is about self-awareness. And we're not paying attention to what's going on. You're mean to my Brittany, you can't speak to me, ever. Because she works too hard and she sacrifices too much. So I'm gonna answer the question the way that I want to, but my grandmother taught me that leadership looks different, and they don't have to have on a suit and tie, and they do not have to have a corner office. And you treat everybody with respect.
I love that. Wanya, same question for you.
Sure, I'm going to build off of what Michelle just said. The woman who inspires me the most across civic and government and nonprofit and corporate America is my mother. And the reason I choose my mother is because my mother was a first-generation college grad, and my mother had to, the only reason she went to Florida A&M is because she had a scholarship.
Rattlers in the house.
But my mother was a teacher for 30 years. Wow. And she chose that profession because she chose to let my father pursue his career. And my father died when I was in high school, and my mother found herself in a situation where she had to raise 3 children. And I'm going to start by saying that I'm going to build on what Michelle said. You know, I saw leadership skills in my mother when she was a teacher every day. To this day, people come up to me, she taught here in Atlanta, I loved your mom, she taught me A, B, C, D, E. So my mother was a leader from the beginning, but my mother ended up having an opportunity to go work at Turner Broadcasting. And then my mother, in her role in community affairs, started Turner Volunteer Day, which exists today. Sure does. And then my mother, I have big shoes to fill, I'm not done. Then my mother was placed on Turner's board. She was the first black woman to serve on a major media company board. And while she was there, nobody thought she knew what she was talking about. But remember, my mother was a teacher. And my mother said, they're talking about all the different networks, and my mom said, what about the children? What do they have? And so Ted said, she's right. No, the first person said, one of the board members said, we don't care about children, nobody wants to sell to children. But Ted said, she's right. I want this person to go investigate that, and that's how we got Cartoon Network.
Wow.
So my mother is all of 5'1". I walked in the door today and somebody said, your mom waltzed into the room at this Clark reception and heads turned. She is fearless. She taught me to be fearless, regardless of the room that I'm in. So my mother is inspiring to me, and she inspires my kids, and she inspires all the women and men around her.
I told Wanya that. I was there last night. Her mother walked into the room, everybody's head turned. Miss Wanda, I tell you, your mom knows how to do business, and we are so proud of her. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Her name is Ruby Lucas, in case you ever run into her.
Now, Rob, we're going to you. What are some of the most systemic ways male advocates can make a difference for women in the workplace? For example, what kinds of programs or policies do you think male advocates advance that you believe would make a real difference for women?
Well, first of all, Diane Parker is my assistant.
I like that because I might be calling her.
Yes. She's in Orange Beach this weekend, or this week on vacation.
I love that.
I think programs and systems and processes put in place to advocate on behalf of women really important, but I'm a really big fan of the intentionality behind all that. Programs, on paper really don't mean much. As a male in a male-dominated most industries, we have to be intentional about creating opportunities, real opportunities, to prepare everyone for readiness for the opportunities that are coming. And that programmatically could look like mentorships, could look like a shadowing opportunity, getting creative. I'm actually working with another organization in Atlanta right now with an externship program. We'd swap talent to get more experience. But none of that really matters if it's not individual, intentional, authentic, and focused on getting the individual ready for the opportunity, not just creating a false opportunity. And so I've been taught, and I'm a real big believer in real responsibility for real experience to get readiness. And so that might be a stretch assignment, that might be a role within the organization, that might be an external opportunity, might be something like this, where you get somebody plugged in a very intentional way to do something they may never thought they were capable of doing. And you know what? I love failure. I love stretch opportunities that create failure because that systemically provides experience. I love to say there is no such thing as bad experience. There are pleasant experiences and there are unpleasant experiences, but there is no such thing as bad experience. And so we have a responsibility of creating those opportunities through mentorship, through shadowing, through stretch assignments to do that. And I just think that's critical. And for a lot of us, we are the ones with the power to do that, the male in the male-dominated workforce. And I think that's critical.
All right, Diane, what are some of the ways you've benefited from or worked with male advocates in actually advancing your career?
Yeah, so I think, to add to what Rob said, I think sponsorship is key. I at SAP was very fortunate to have a few sponsors during my long tenure at 24 years, right? And sometimes you don't know who those sponsors are, but they're talking about you. They're talking on your behalf. If you do something great, they're telling others. So they are helping to amplify your brand inside the company. And talk about stretch, assignments. I can't tell you how many stretch assignments, I had, but you take them on. And you know what's amazing? You do one stretch assignment and the next one's easier. And the next one's even easier than that. So you get your own muscle memory, right? So I think, men have helped me in my career. I've been very fortunate to have amazing sponsors, but I've also then given it back, right? I've played it forward. I am a sponsor to both women and men, and I see amazing talent in SAP, and I want those people to be successful. And, I give them feedback, and that feedback is sometimes very, it's direct. I'm from Philadelphia, that's the way we roll. Very direct, Atlanta, people are a little bit nicer, not necessarily up in the north, right? And so I give that feedback to them, and it's not to be cruel, it's so they learn and so they can get better. And I just think that there's so many ways that in your organization, you have the opportunity to find your sponsor and to show that sponsor that you can do amazing, amazing things and have them be proud of you. Because I know my sponsors definitely are proud of me.
Mary, same question for you. How have you worked with men in your business, advocates, in advancing your career?
Every promotional opportunity that I've had throughout my career has come from a man advocating for me. In one sense, it was just my technical ability, right? So when you work alongside someone, you've always heard your mother and father say, do your best. I have a daughter who's 13 now, but I remember when she was 2 and 3 years old, my husband and I would always tell her, you know, do your best, right? And have fun, right? So it's the same thing as adults. Do your best in whatever it is that you strive to do. Once it's determined that you have that technical and analytical skills, those advocacies are going to come, right? Because you've demonstrated that you can do the job. There was one particular time where it had nothing to do with my technical or analytical skills. I was asked to be co-chair of the Black Professionals Group at Bank of America. And at first, when I was approached about doing that, I didn't want it, right? Because I said, I don't have time for it. But I did. I did take that role on. And the person that was the sponsor of the Black Professionals Group at Bank of America, he ended up getting me my next role. So the skill set that I demonstrated in being in that leadership type position had nothing to do with my day job, right? But I demonstrated that I had skills outside of my day job that helped me to get my next role.
Okay. Michelle, we talk about authenticity, being our best self, how important that is. It's one of the many important leadership traits. Is being your authentic best self at work really possible?
So,
I like that look.
You know, it really depends on, and I know there's another question about culture. And we know that culture eats strategy, culture eats everything. Because if you're not walking in the culture, you're not gonna win. So let me just say this, the person working the hardest does not get the job. It does not happen, right? I have a number in my wallet, it's 1231. I spent 12 years at 3 companies with the same job because I took the same set of skills, the same aspirations, the same passion, which is not an adjective for a lot of brown people because they use passion instead of you're talented or you whatever, right? You're smart. Passion is, oh, they're so passionate. Don't call me that. It really makes me crazy. I can call myself that, but you can't call me that. Anyway, so what I found out is this, is that there's a different dance everywhere you go. And I've shown up how I am in a different suit or dress. And look, people will say, but you're playing the game. I'm doing this so my daughter doesn't have to. We still live in a time when you're judged by what you look like. I'm a black woman first. Then I'm talented, and then I'm an author, and then I'm a mother. But trust me, how I was born trumps everything. And I'm saying that because a lot of people aren't going to tell you that, and 90% of the decisions made about you happen when you're not in the room. It's done by someone else. It's done by someone else. And I found out I'm going to be 52. I know, look, give me a little bit. Good. My jeans on. All right, sorry, I had to throw that out there. But I've learned a lot. I've learned so much, and I tried to be myself, and I showed up myself, and I did this, and I did that, and I did not get ahead until I paid attention to what was going on around me. And if you want to get what you want to get and get into a seat, then you can hire the really authentic people you want to hire. But until you are in a position of power and have a voice, you gotta dance a little bit. And I dance all the time, and I'm happy. And I got my whole team looks like me. My whole team looks like me because I made a decision that I was gonna fight hard. And I was gonna live authentically in the culture in which I lived until I could be in a position to really impact change. And I do that every day. So you gotta give, everybody's not Bozoma St. John. Please Google her. Please, everybody can't be her. Okay, she's one of my best friends. Anyway, go on. All right, sorry.
You're right, you're right.
To add to that, I think you do need to know the culture of the company you work in. And you have to make sure that that culture of that company fits with you. I mean, at SAP, we do want to make the world run better, right? And improve people's lives. So that's something I'm all into, right? We weren't saying that 24 years ago, but that's where we are today. And that fits my passion. However, the culture, you need to understand the culture. And you got to play the game. You know, it doesn't mean you can't be yourself in that culture, but you have to understand that if you go left and people go right constantly, you're going against the wrong, yeah, it's too hard.
Can't do it.
Right?
Can't do it.
So you do have to play the game, but you play it purposefully. And what I would say, when you're authentic to yourself, you are the beliefs you have, the things that you are passionate about. I will say passion, because people say I'm passionate, so I'm good with that, right? But your passion, your beliefs, stay true to them, okay? But learn how to work with them on the positive side within your culture and be authentic. I can't be somebody that I don't like. I can't be somebody that I don't respect.
Yep.
And if everybody doesn't, you know, if I act one way in a company and I don't get that right response, well, then that's not the company for me.
Yep.
I like that. That's almost a question that everybody could answer, but I think you all would pretty much have the same answers. You have to pay attention, and you have to look at what your situation is and where you work. So Rob, I'm going to go back to you. Advocacy, so important to ensure women have a seat at the table. Share one of the specific ways that you've advocated for the next generation of women leaders. I was just looking at through your bio. You're on the board of the Women Food Service Forum, so you work with women very closely.
Yeah, so in our industry, the food service industry, the statistic is if we keep doing what we're doing, it'll take 100 years to get to gender equity. That's just not going to work. And so we as industry leaders have to do something different. It's great at the entry level, it's great into lower management. When you get kind of mid-management to director, there's just a huge drop-off. And so to attract leaders into our industry and to retain leaders into our industry, we have to do something different. And for me, that's been sometimes standing alone and speaking up for the next generation of leaders, specifically women leaders, in an environment where I might be the only voice in the room. That's okay, because I believe in it. Back to authenticity. It's something that I believe in, that I think is the right thing to do. And if I stand alone, maybe some woman doesn't have to. Maybe if I'm the voice in the room, maybe I can be the voice in the room that makes it safe for her to be herself, that makes it safe for her to be authentic, and to give her a fighting chance to compete in our industry and our business. So specifically, what I try to do is lead before I need to. I don't wait for the organization to tell me it's the right thing to do. I do it because it's the right thing to do. And I'll just tell you, I catch a lot of crap for it. I get a lot of grief. I get a lot of pushback. I get a lot of challenge because people want to know, like, why are you spending so much time advocating for women? Or why are you spending so much time, you know, with millennials? Or why are you spending much, you know, pick the group. And it's because it's important. If we're going to really get inclusion, I, as a leader, have to make it easier to include. And I want the real thing. I don't want just numbers on a chart. I don't want a metric. I don't want to hit a goal. I want the real thing. I want true inclusion because it's better for business. It's better for all of us. And so that's kind of how I think about it.
Wanya, research suggests that women can face different challenges in the workplace than men. In your experience, what was one of the challenges you faced and how did you overcome it?
So I think one of the challenges that I faced, and I think many people face, it'll sound very familiar, but it is not being heard. And by not being heard, I mean really two things. One is saying something or putting an idea out there, and then I've got, you know, Joe, John, Josh, whomever it is, who takes the idea for their own, who all of a sudden is repeating exactly, maybe adding a little something else. I see a lot of heads nodding, but they're repeating what I just said. So at first I used to get angry about it, you know, my own little quiet way, but then I decided that I would take the power back. And so what I do now is, and I coach other people to do the same, is instead of it being a negative thing, I actually make it a positive thing, and I'll say, you know, John, that was a great idea to build. You just built on the idea. Anyone else want to build on this idea? Anybody? Or jump in here? Because then that does two things. Number one, I'm the facilitator, right? So people will remember it was my idea, but also it's inclusive. Because it's not about my idea, it's about the team, right? It's about everyone feeling as if they are contributing. So instead of it being a negative thing and a challenge, I actually turned it into a great opportunity for people to be included and feel like they're are part of it. And so it starts as a challenge, but actually became a great opportunity, and it's a management tool I use all the time. Everybody's just happy because they're all contributing ideas and they're part of the team. So great.
Good way. Good way. Yes. Absolutely.
So the one thing that I would say for you, those of you in the audience that are starting out or early on in your careers, when you get invited to a meeting, have one thing that you contribute and you are heard in the meeting. Because you don't just sit in the meeting and say nothing. Nor do you sit in the meeting and say everything, right? You don't do that. Don't do that. But find one thing to comment, and you're now included in the conversation. And people are going to invite you more and more because they want to hear from you. So even if you're young, even if you're just starting out, find the one thing. Put it around how your customers might feel or how, your partners might feel. Like, put it in some empathetic way. But it's so important because you are now establishing your voice in these meetings.
Can I just jump on the back of that? Because I think it's a good point. And then you have your one question, right? You leave the room. And then if you want to be a real gangster, then you recap the meeting, right? You recap the meeting to the appropriate people and say, these were the 3 things, and I'd love to take this one thing on and give you more information. I'm going to send that to you tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And trust me, they'll be waiting for that email at noon. And you'll be memorable. Like, you got to figure out how to break through the clutter. Yep. So all of that's good, and then you just bring everything full circle. If you're not thinking about when you have a seat at the table, and please take one, like the people who sat in the front get an A+, because sit in the front, okay, so you can be seen and heard. Yeah. Remind people all the time you're paying attention. This is what I got. I'm a solutions-oriented person. This is the one thing I heard. I'd love to take that on and give you more information. It's just smart business.
That's right, that's right. Well, speaking of that, in 2013, Sheryl Sandberg, COO for Facebook, wrote the popular book, Lean In. You guys have heard that, right? Yeah. What does Lean In mean to you, and can you share an example of when and how you've leaned in? Michelle, I'm scared to hear this.
Well, you know what? I'm going to be super transparent. I love Sheryl, read the book, but I didn't feel like the book was for me. Okay. And I'm going to say that because... Okay. And it's okay. She didn't write the book for everybody. Every book's not going to be for everybody. If I lean in, I'm going to hit cement. I didn't have any parachute. I didn't have generational wealth. My parents didn't go to college. Like, I'm a little girl from Oakland, and I'm out here fighting every day for everything that I have, right? So when do I lean in? Every damn day. But I'll say this. I wrote.
She's real. She's real.
Okay. And Wanya, because I'm gonna get her phone number when I leave here, because I've admired her for so long. But I wrote this book because I saw the marketplace changing, and I'm not gonna allow the marketplace dictate if my children can go to the school they want to go to.
That's right.
And what I did is I paid attention. Everyone who sat on a panel, all the panels that I went to, they were authors. I was like, that's not a book, that's a pamphlet. I know I can write a book.
Right.
I can do that.
Right.
I can do that. So let me tell you folks out here, you were destined to do something other than being hired for a company and work. There is more to you. There is a dream or a desire or something that you want to do. I feel like Benny Hinn right now. Someone is healed. Okay? But for real, like I said, you lost the audience now. The world and corporate America, they do not dictate your end. I will not sleep in fear. I will not have to worry about if I can have something or do something. And so I said, they're not going to have the last say. And so I did this, I did two, and you gotta want and do more. We sit here and we're a society, we're on social media following people's lives 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours a day. And they're gonna do nothing for you. Nothing, okay? So I took a little time back and I did something for myself. So I lean in all the time, and I'm not finished leaning.
Have you read the book? Yes.
I'm following Michelle. I don't know what this means. I'm following Michelle. You know, I actually, so the part about the book, I think when Michelle kind of mentioned this, you know, her situation, one of the criticisms of the book, her situation is vastly different from many others. But I did appreciate the fact, and we're going to talk about this later, that, you know, she is a mother, and she was a wife at the time, and she wrote the book, and we all worry about balance. And regardless of how you handle that, you know, you're lucky if you got now I talk about my mama. My mama was not babysitting or picking anybody up, okay?
Right.
She was not that kind of mom. But however you want to handle the balance that you need, I appreciate the fact that she talked about that. And for me, leaning in is being present in the moment. Mm-hmm. and really appreciating every moment, whether I am with my children, whether I am with my friends, whether I am at work. My advice to you, and I think this is something that everyone can actually take advantage of, is to be present in the moment. And to Michelle's point, don't be on social media or don't discount what that person is saying, because you never know where that nugget of wisdom will come.
Absolutely.
So to me, leaning in is to be ever present.
Yeah. Mary, have you read the book?
I have read the book, and I'm a little bit different than Michelle. True story. 5 years ago, flew to Charlotte, had a meeting in Charlotte. My manager says, I want to have coffee with you. I go to him, I go sit down and have coffee with him. He said, guess what? I'm getting promoted, which means I want you to be promoted. Oh. I thought to myself, I didn't tell him this, but I said, you know what? I'm not ready. I'm thinking, because women, we have self-doubt. We have to check all the boxes or we're not ready. So I fly back to Atlanta that very same day. I meet an executive at the bank because I had a function to go to. And I was telling her the story. She said, read, lead in. I said, I really don't need to read, lean in. I've been in this industry 20 years. I know how to speak up for myself. I don't need to read the book. She said, it's a quick read, just read it. So I downloaded it on my Kindle, literally read it that night. I was up late that night, and I was so embarrassed. And I was embarrassed because I saw myself in some of the things that she said. And I thought, I'm a 20-year veteran in this business. There's no way this book should represent me, at least some of the parts of the book. I went to my husband and I said, well, this is the opportunity, what do you think? And I won't say everything that he said, but he said, you're a black woman. You don't even need to come to tell me or ask me whether or not you should take this position. You need to take it. And so I did, but I would say what I've learned from that, though, is that I recognize that I'm in a very important seat. An important seat because there's very few women that in leadership position in the industry that I'm in, and because I'm in a position where I can affect change. Mm-hmm. So one of the first things I did is when I took this position, I looked at the salary and the compensation of everybody on my team. Mm-hmm. There was one woman on my team at the time, and she wasn't being compensated fairly. Mm-hmm. And I went to my manager and I said, she's never spoken up about compensation before, has she? He said, no. And I said, we need to make a change. Mm. So I use that voice to lean in.
And that doesn't happen. Successful career, perfect family, passionate. Your favorite word. Volunteer, fitness fanatic, spiritual leader. Is work-life balance a reality? Can we have it all? Let's go.
All right. So, look, I think you make choices. You make purposeful choices. My husband and I, we've been married 24 years. How he puts up with me, I don't know. But 24 years, well, we don't have children. And we made that choice as a unit. You know, and we have a great marriage, and we have a lot of fun. And I've had the opportunity to live around the world for SAP. I've lived in 3 different countries, as well as the US, and I've done a lot of things. But you do make choices, and you gotta feel good about those choices. And the choices I make are not necessarily the choices that others will make, because it's you. But you do have to recognize, if you're gonna do things, figure out what's important to you, and then if you make a choice of you want to do something and you want to have a family, then make sure you figured out how to have that family unit and who's going to take care of the kids and who's going to do it, because there's so many people who can, right? But you got to think through it. And there's nothing wrong with it. Just make your own decision. and be comfortable with the decisions you made. I have no regrets in anything in my life.
Perfect. Great. Michelle?
So 2 things. You can have everything, just not at the same time. So I would tell any woman out here, whether you have children or you have 3 dogs that you have to walk, or you have nieces or nephews or godchildren, because everybody is a mother to something. We are the curators of our community, right? I would say 2 things. 1, my calendar at work has so much stuff on it. I know my boss is like, is she crazy? It says hair appointment, nail appointment. It says my kids have a doctor appointment. But what I want him to know is that I am being transparent because I deliver all the time, and I show up for this company so that you need to understand. I'm not, look, I gotta look good. Kids gotta look good. You know what I'm saying? Okay. The other thing that I did is when I decided to write a book, I sat down with my family and had a meeting, right? Because when you have buy-in from everybody at the table, it's like, Mom's gonna write this book. This is what this means. Is everybody good with that? Because what you're doing is you're setting an expectation in your household. So if Mom doesn't show up for one day, they're like, oh yeah, you know, but I got that new pair of sneakers because Mom wrote 5 books, and I can. But you train your situation in a way that makes sense and comfortable for your family. My husband works for Bank of America, girl. We got to talk.
Oh,
okay?
yes.
And he just took a leave of absence because he's running for Congress. But we had the same meeting. Do you understand what this means for our family? Do you understand the sacrifice that Dad has to make? Because he's a JAG officer in the Army as well. So he's a veteran. Wow. So it's like, what are we doing? But the point is, we communicate. Don't just communicate at work. Just don't communicate with your family. Be open and be willing to accept hard feedback. Mom, I don't want you to do that. I'm not prepared for you to do that. If you really feel that way, understand the sacrifices that we all have to make if that's not going to happen. But it's about real, honest, passionate dialogue with your family.
You said the word.
Right, exactly. I was joking.
Rob, I'm not letting you go on this. Can we have it all?
Yeah, not at the same time. I agree. I think there's seasons of life.
Right.
I think you just have to accept that. I mean, there was a season where my kids were playing soccer, and I wasn't missing that. That was more important than taking a promotion and moving. There's seasons to climb the ladder. There's seasons to get experience. There's just, you got to be real about the season. And I love the communication at home piece.
Oh yeah.
When I'm at work, I'm at work. When I'm at home, I'm at home. If I'm doing email, I'm not at home. I'm at work. And so I don't check voicemail in front of my family. I don't get on my phone and do work in front of my family.
I love that.
If I got to work, I say, hey, I'm going to go to work.
Yep.
And I got to go take 2 hours and work. But this thing about being in the phone, being on the car and on the phone and doing work, and your kids in the passenger seat, you're not with your kid. You're at work. And so I have a bad habit. Those who work with me know that I get up early and go in early. And I get in early so I can get ahead, because I'm not as smart as everybody else. So I have to get ahead and work hard, get my nails done, get my hair did.
Yes, I can tell.
But
see, that's why you're an empty nester now. So.
But the other reason that I do that is at 5 o'clock, I'm walking out that door.
Right.
And my backpack is landing at the front door, and it's going to sit there until 5 in the morning when I walk back out that door.
Yeah.
I don't need to do it at night. I'm going in early. Anybody sends me an email at night, they're not reading it, they're going to bed.
That's right.
And when I get up and read it and send the email, they're still sleeping. And so that's just my kind of trick to not rob my family. I'll rob myself, get up a little early and go in. But there are trade-offs you have to make in your career. And there are certain seasons you can only be a mom or dad for a certain season to a little kid playing herd soccer.
Yep.
And if you're not there, one of the biggest lessons I ever got, I got busted. My kid was playing t-ball. My boss called me my cell phone and told me to go put the phone in the car because he said I was not at my son's t-ball practice. I was at work.
Wow.
And God bless that man. He taught me something that day. And I think you can do it all, but do the right thing at the right time for the right reason.
That's right. All right, Mary.
No, I would say the same thing. You can, right? But sometimes work is going to take priority. Sometimes your family is going to take priority. But true story, and I would say this for everyone. So for every mother and every father in this room know what your boundaries are, right? Because when you ascend to leadership, the grab on your time can be pretty intensive. So you have to set the boundaries. And so for me, when my daughter was young, preschool age, I refused to hire a nanny. I said, no, that's my responsibility to take her to preschool and to pick her up. So what that meant for me is when she went to bed at night, I would go back and check email. I remember when I first came to the bank, my managers set one-on-one meetings with us on a bi-weekly basis, and my time he set for me was on Wednesdays. And I was very new at Bank of America, and I said, you know what, that's not gonna work for me. Wednesday is the day that I can have breakfast with my daughter at her elementary school. And there was a pause on the other end of the line. What I came to realize later is that no one ever pushed back on him, right? No one ever did that. And so when he paused, that meant he wanted you to think about what you just said and say something different, and I did not. And to this day, he knows that family is important to me, and he doesn't intrude on my family time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I want to build on that. Someone said to me years ago that you can always make more money, but you can't make more time.
That's right.
And I took that to heart because that is true. And I will say that one of the things, I agree with everything everybody said, seasons, ages and stages, you can call it whatever you want, but you live in a place and time. When I was in business school, I wasn't a relative, they told me I was old. I worked for 5 years before I went back to school, so everybody could tease me and say, you're old. I had no man in sight, but I knew I wanted to be a mother and a wife at one point in my life. And so I turned down jobs. I knew I couldn't do investment banking or management consulting because I knew that at some point I wanted to have a family and I wanted to be present. And so I made a decision, I made a choice. I went into brand management instead. I loved it. But I made other decisions like that along the way. But the one thing I learned pretty early on when I was blessed to have kids, I knew that my legacy was not going to be my bio. My legacy was going to be the people that loved me, my family, my friends, and my children. And for me, being a mother was, I said, it's the thing I'm most proud of. For me, it is the thing I'm most proud of. I wasn't a perfect mother, but I was always present. And the thing that I did, I'm going to build on what you said, Mary, is I always found family-friendly bosses. They were always men, by the way, for the most part. I only had one female boss. But when I interviewed with people, I would look, do they have their kids in the room? Are they with them, or do they look like they just took it from afar? It's a single portrait, you know? And then I would talk to them, and I would see if they would mention their families. I really wanted to know who I was working for, because I always made it very clear that my family came first. Now, I'm one of those, my sister goes, you're one of those crazy people. I do. I'm an insomniac. I'll wake up at 3 in the morning and I'll work. That's just because that's what I do. Not because it's required, but that's what I do. But I went home. I was a Brownie Troop leader. I was a classroom mom. I did work with the musical. I mean, I was very present and engaged with my kids. And now they're grown and they're off. I'm an empty nester mom. But you know what, they're good kids and they've had a great life and we have a great relationship. So for me, I think about, you can have it all. It's ages and stages, it's seasons, however you want to define it. You can always make more money, but you can't make more time, so spend it wisely.
Yeah. All right, speed round, this is the end, this is it. We want to end on time. Quickly, 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Okay. What is the one thing that keeps you up at night? Diane.
Okay. I'm going to piggyback on what was said. There is not enough time.
Okay.
So make the time for things that you care about, and make the time for those relationships in your family, because that's the best thing there is.
All right, Michelle?
I think the one thing that keeps me up at night is if I've gone through the day and haven't given service, because I know all of my blessings have come because I've done something for someone else. So I try and ask myself, what have you done today to make someone's life better? And if I cannot answer that I've done one thing, said one kind word, prayed for somebody, then I wake up, I swear to you, at 3 o'clock in the morning, God wakes me up and be like, I need you to figure out how you're going to do better tomorrow. That is the only thing.
Love that. Rob?
Yeah, not much. But I got to get up early.
That's why you look so young. That's good. That's good.
But as it relates to this, the thing that concerns me the most, especially with dealing with women in leadership, is women who sell themselves short, who put the limit on their career that's not even there. It's this artificial, this is what I've been told I can do, this is where I told I belong, and it drives me up the wall. And that's probably the thing that irritates me the most. It doesn't keep me awake.
Mary?
Yeah, I would say this is something that doesn't necessarily keep me awake, but it does concern me, and that is women that put the job before their family. Mm. They've got their priorities mixed up.
Yep.
Yeah. Wanya?
What keeps me up at night is the fear that we may one day, and I'm not being political, but we may one day live in a world where regardless of the circumstances that you are born into, you do not have a way to pull yourself out of those circumstances via education, via opportunities and work. And that could be, because there's bias, gender bias, racial bias. So for me, I mentioned, both my parents came from nothing. First generation college grads. They were able to create a better life because they were given opportunity. So I want to live in a land of opportunity, and I want to make sure that it stays that way. That's what keeps me up at night.
Fabulous panel. Watch public broadcasting. Put your money in Bank of America. Eat Chick-fil-A. Watch BET. And support SAP. Thank you so much, everybody.
My name is Jay Wesley, founder of Cocktail Chronicles and president of the Atlanta Nightlife Alliance. My question is, the word passion was used loosely here tonight.
It's for you.
But I believe it began with a young woman from SAP. Passion for blacks and whites are much different. Blacks who are passionate can often be perceived as aggressive and or emotional. Keep in mind that black northerners, such as myself being raised in Chicago and New York City, receive a perception of even being more aggressive from blacks in the South, in which we would refer to as passionate as well. With that being said, is it truly possible for blacks to be authentic and passionate too, without the perception from the world that they're a menace to society? Or do we need to fine-tune our edges that we refer to as passion?
So, a couple questions there.
So, can I?
Yeah.
So from my perspective, I'm Italian, and when, people say people from Italy are Italian and they're passionate, it's not always seen as positive, right? And especially being a woman and 5'2", not always positive, right? However, right, for me, I think passion is something that is within people, and you're passionate about something, and it's the way you articulate why you're passionate about it. And I will tell you, I listen to my team, and I have a diverse team. The leadership team is 15 people. I have, 8 men and 7 women, and they are all super passionate. And when they're not passionate and giving me feedback, I ask why. Because I'm a leader who wants the passion from the team to come out. And I am a leader who looks for passion. Be you black, be you white, be you male, be you female. Be a mature individual, be a millennial. I personally don't care. I care about the passion within. And I ask people to just articulate their passion, but do it in a way that people can understand you. So that's my response to your question.
So you feel like they could be black and they wouldn't be perceived as being aggressive or anything, trying to be
not
passionate?
at all.
To her.
To her.
To her. because it's not that way everywhere.
For everybody.
Right?
Well, right.
Right, so
it's your leadership, my leadership style.
Correct. So that you have to understand, and I made that comment about like everyone can't say that I'm passionate because I know they don't have good intentions. Spirit tests spirit. So when they say, because I've had people say, oh, Michelle Thornton's so passionate, what they're trying to say is I'm angry, or I'm loud or aggressive. And so I try and say, I ask the question, oh, you said I'm passionate. Can you explain, can you articulate what that means? I want to make sure that I'm giving you my best. I want to make sure that I'm delivering based on the needs of the organization. So let me make sure we're aligned with what that word means. And you just let people know I'm paying attention and I see you in a very nice way. I'm smiling, right? So you have to know, and you can't get mad.
No.
And you can't be on the defensive. You have to just understand what that means, and then you move accordingly.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Rena Williams. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here. All of you are so very much inspiring, so I really appreciate it. But I have a question for anyone who wants to answer. Have you all always been on the fast track in your careers? And if not, when did you experience your breakthrough and how did that happen? And at what point did you recognize that you were in your sweet spot and where you wanted to be?
Oh, that's a good one. All right, who wants to tackle that one?
Can I start on that one?
Go for it, Rob.
So the first third of your career, no matter how hot you think you are, is all about making mistakes. It's all about getting experience in my mind. You may be really, really smart, you may have great perspective, but you haven't done anything yet. And so I think in the first third of your career, we're all figuring it out. A lot of people, if you polled everybody in here with a degree that's working and asked them if their degree is what they're working on, it's probably not there. But for me, it took me till I was probably 40 years old till I really figured out what I did really well. And it took, I have diploma after diploma after diploma from the School of Hard Knocks. And those are much more valuable than the actual diplomas that I have hanging on my wall. And so for me, and for a lot of people that I work with, that adds so much value to what I do now, and be able to coach younger people and to reach back. It's the season I'm in today, which is kind of the third of my career. And so I would argue that if people tell you they have it all figured out at 30 years old, I don't know.
I just want to add that.
And I want to add to that too, so go for it.
Sure, I just want to add to take calculated risks. So the part of my bio you didn't hear is it took 32 interviews to get a job at Turner, and I had to cut my salary in half.
Wow.
But I decided I wanted to take I was passionate about media, and I decided I wanted to take a risk on me. Now I realized nobody else did that, so it was probably smart, but it was the best thing. I'd never been happier in my life. Another risk I took, I was in a big meeting, I was just happy to be in the room. I was just a director, I'd just become a director, maybe I was a marketing manager, I'm not sure, but the COO of the company was there fighting with the president of the entertainment division, and the CFO of the company's there, and the head of ad sales is there, and they're going back and forth. It is incredibly uncomfortable in this room. So I'm a middle child, and I want everybody to come together. So I say to them, Brad, Steve, you're both saying the same thing. Brad is saying blah, blah, blah. Steve, you're saying this, and here's the connectivity. And everybody in the room was kind of like, yay, thank you. But then Steve says to me, Wanya, we're not saying the same thing. We're fundamentally saying different things. And all I could say to myself was, he knows my name. Why is there? And fast forward, years later, I worked on a project, and he was the person who handpicked me to become the head of marketing of all in CNN. And it's because I took that risk. So anyway.
Well, I will quickly say, having been in Atlanta almost 30 years, started at CBS 46. After 10 years, Tribune sold it to Meredith. New people come in. They want to do what they want to do. All right, so I went to Tegna. Stayed there 15 years. Guess what? They kind of changed hands over there too. They want to do what they want to do. And you think you're in the right spot and you know what you're doing, you're feeling strong. It's not on you sometimes. It's on your company, it's on the corporations, on the people managing you. So guess what? I'm back at CBS 46. And you know what? I'm just glad that someone recognizes what I do, what I can do, what I'm able to do, but that I do know people think you are passionate sometimes and they feel like you are angry. You just have to play the game. Just sit there, sit back, watch what's going on, as we've said throughout the evening, and your time will come. But you also have to listen, because I'm sure God's telling you something. Listen. And I'm listening. So I'm waiting to hear what's next, as I'm sure many people are.
Thank you.
Yes.
So good evening. Thank you for the very robust and much needed discussion today. My question is, in the industry that I work in, it's very male dominated.
Which industry?
I'm in the biofarm industry.
Okay.
Very male dominated still, although there are a lot of females that have reached certain levels of success. But with the current Me Too movement, my fear sometimes is that males that are in more of a directive role will begin to pull back in managing or developing women that work under them simply because of the fear of. So I would love to get your perspective on that, both from females and also the male perspective on your thoughts, but then what can a female in that position do to continue to escalate to that level of success?
So this is what I would say. I have so many questions. Does your company make products for men or women? Both. So it's both. And I would say that right now, Black women are suffering from so many diseases because we don't just drop dead. We die a long, painful death because we can sustain so much. I'm saying all that because I wouldn't worry about what's going on. I would be super informed. Black women spend $200 billion. They're spending $75 million in the pharma industry. We sit at a table and we don't even bring our own focus group to the table. Yeah. Especially when there are so few of us at the table. Yeah. I know every dollar we spend, how we watch TV. I know every demographic. Let me tell you something. I got Google alerts on my company. I want to know what they're saying, when they're saying it, so I can see. I have feedback based on those Google alerts. I send those emails and articles to men in my company who need to see it. See, I don't go and get an advocate. I advocate for people even though I'm not at this level. You have to begin to advocate up and help them because they're busy and worried too. So when you begin to learn how to work the game and the circle and you begin to give information instead of always wanting to get it, you become a resource. And trust me, we have so much information because there's only 1 or 2 or 3 of us at the table. You got to use your power. Have them come to you. Yeah. Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Betty Hines, and I am the founder and CEO of Women Elevating Women. First, thank you for a very rich dialogue. And I also want to thank Charmaine Ward for being her guest, Georgia Power. I come from Maryland, and my question to you is either any of you, what are you doing intentionally? You talk about cultivate and bringing or bridging the gap between women of color and a multicultural and intergenerational community. What are your companies doing?
We didn't hear the last
part. Repeat what are you doing?
What are you doing in a multicultural and intergenerational community? What are your companies doing? Because we're living longer. So there's an age differential, women of color. So what are you doing within your companies for the intergenerational and the multicultural woman to elevate and help them be promoted, escalate, scale?
So generational and cultural.
So I'll take that. So from SAP, look, we do business in 130 countries, right? And trust me, there's times when I go to, an office in Calcutta and there's not any females other than the admins. And that's a problem. So, we have to make sure that people recognize that that's not acceptable. and we're making a lot of progress, right? There's a lot of programs that we have to bring in multi-generational work groups inside the company. It's not all about millennials, and it's not all about, you know, people at the aging workforce area, right? You need a blend. So there's 5 generations in SAP working together. And what we try to do is, you know, a millennial gets mentored up with someone who's been with the company for a long time, and maybe this is their last, you know, job that they're going to have, right? They're in their 60s. And you do this cross-mentoring, where the person who has all the experience is learning how to get their social media profile increased. Right? And the person who's the millennial has a lot of knowledge they're getting from somebody who's real experienced. So we're doing this, and it's happening naturally. Right? But there still has to be a focus on hiring women. And I don't care in what country we're talking about, we need more women inside our company, because that's what is going to make us even better than we are today.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Jenny St. Prey, and thank you for your willingness to answer my question. During a discussion earlier, you guys mentioned that we can have everything. Just during different seasons in our lives, certain things take center stage. What is your practical advice to a woman who has maybe taken her foot off the gas professionally, is immobile currently, is taking on additional projects, etc., and has shifted that energy to her family? And maybe it has decided to do that for several years, maybe even has left the workforce entirely, but is now shifting the focus back to professional success and wants to, you know, climb up the corporate ladder. But now you have this period of 2-3 years, however long, where you were focusing in on your family, on your young children, etc. What advice would you give someone like that that wants to now lean in, that wants to now shift the focus back to professional endeavors? How do you explain that period?
I would start off by don't make any excuses for it. Celebrate it. What a man would do is walk in and say, "Hey, I'm back." You know, just own it. Walk back. You know, walk back in, pick up where you left off. Don't make any excuses. Don't sell yourself short because of it. Re-engage. Get ramped back up and hit the ground running and bring that time away to bear. You'll have a different perspective. You'll have a different way of seeing the world. You'll add value differently. I'd own it.
Michelle, can we do that going to BET? Can we just own it?
But I'm gonna say you got the mic, right? Did you say your name or what you're like? If it's you, just say it. Hey, I'm here. I showed up. And my name is so and so. Like, we don't even own the mic when we get an opportunity. Like, because we dance around stuff. It's like, look, I'm talented. I came. I look good tonight. And if anybody's hiring, I'm gonna be right here.
Ourselves, I'm Jenny St. Prey, a newly licensed real estate.
This is what I'm talking about.
There you go.
We gotta stop shrinking and skirting around. Ask for what we've earned. Raise your hand. I'm good. I'm talented. I'm standing right here. I got my eyeliner on straight, and I'm the baddest real estate agent in Atlanta. I'm gonna meet you at the back door. Boom! Drop the mic.
There you go.
Okay? Exactly.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you all for sharing your wisdom and your time today. My name is Dorothy Paul. I'm a recent graduated law student. I'm a new licensed attorney here in Atlanta. My question to you all is, in my role as an attorney, I find myself still learning the nuances of the law and having questions along the way. Do leaders ask for help, and if so, in what capacity?
That's a good question. Wanya?
Yeah. Good leaders ask for help. Right? I say that. Good leaders ask for help. And I think you ask for help in many different places. You can ask for help from people who are your colleagues, right? Okay. You're here at a professional organization. You can ask for help here at a place like this, or GABWA, which is also, I know, the lawyers, Black Women Lawyers group. So I think you can ask for help, but the most important thing is A, to recognize you can ask, and B, to do it.
Yeah.
And don't forget, too, to use your mentors, right? Because we haven't talked much about mentorship versus sponsorship. And there is a difference. So I'm not talking about sponsorship here necessarily. I'm talking about your mentors. Because that's like your board of directors, right? And they can give you feedback and input as well.
Thanks, Mary. Next question.
Hi, my name is Stacy Powell. I'm going to be graduating from college actually next week. And
what's your degree in? What's your degree in?
It's sociology.
Okay. Girl, you got to tell the whole story. Have you? Come on now, be a good student. Come on, let's go.
I just want to know, what advice would you give to a recent college grad for what opportunities you should take once graduating from college? Deciding what opportunities to take.
Mary?
Ooh. I would say start with what you're passionate about. What is it that you really want to do? Even if it may not be the glamorous job, right? Even if it may not pay X amount of money, I would say follow your passion right out of school.
Yeah, and I'd say also, when you get the job, do the things nobody else will do. Do them better than anybody else will imagine.
There you go. Yeah.
There's no job that's not important. So take on the tasks, make a name for yourself wherever you go, no matter what you do. I like your advice. Find something you have passion around, what you're good at, those two things together. If you can pay the bills, then go. But when you get there, and you don't get there and go to the corner office, put your feet up. Go get there and find out what's the stuff that nobody likes to do, nobody's good at doing, and go do that. That's a great place to start and learn the business and work your way up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
In HR at SunTrust, and as a millennial, I feel like we have the stigma that we are very entitled and that we just want everything given to us. So I was wondering if you could give some advice on really how to navigate the path of right now you need to put your time in, or no matter how hard you work, they're never going to see how great you are.
You said no matter how hard you work, they're never going to see how great you are?
Yes.
How great are you right out of school?
Right, that's the first thing. So, you know, what I love about BET, we have more insights on African Americans than any other institution in the world, right? And we just did this huge millennial study, so we know they flow and move differently. So what you guys do is you guys are social media, technology experts. So I know that SAP is trying to plant 5 million trees, right? Because they're also about sustainability. Sometimes you have to dig into your company's infrastructure, see what they're talking about on their website, plant a tree. Matter of fact, plant 5 trees if you work there. Do you understand what I'm saying? We don't even Google our own company's website to see what we're passionate about and talking about what we do, who we are instead of what we do. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Know who people are, know who your company is, not just what they produce. And then you'll be different, and then you'll move faster, and then you'll be a normal millennial and want to be president tomorrow, but you can't because I'm trying to be president first, and I'm a boom. Come on, get in line, wait your turn. But you understand what I'm saying.
I love that, wait your turn.
You gotta know. And the last thing I would tell you is this. Oh, I love millennials. They're like, oh, I work for so-and-so. Oh, they're this. Oh, this is our mission statement. What's your mission statement? Who are you? What's your brand? Don't know somebody else's mission statement and not know your own, not build your own narrative, not have a story. Just the fact that you get it? Because you're building a narrative. Be able to articulate that and move and be agile with it. And then you'll be memorable, because at least when you get in front of the person you need to be, at least you have a story.
We have time for one more question. Did you want to add on that, Rob?
Nope.
Okay. Yes.
There you go.
Last question.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Let's hope you used all the tools you just learned since your last.
No pressure. Hello, my name is Caspi Bias. I am the founder of C Bias Productions, where I basically create animations as well as live action videos. And I also introduced a new service just recently where I basically create podcasts. So I get together with other people and they express their wishes and heartfelt messages toward their loved ones for after they pass. And
cool.
So my overall question for today was, Rob, you had discussed previously of how there are times where you feel you aren't the smartest person in general, but you work super hard and you go in early as far as working, as far as hours. So I'm actually looking for advice as far as burnout in general. you're looking for, in general, just ways in which to overall advance within your particular area. You want to be the best. You want to work as hard as you possibly can. And I myself feel that I'm in that position as well. But you also have to understand that there are limits as well as far as making a work-life balance on that aspect. So do you have any tips or advice as far as that area? How can you avoid burnout on that level?
So I would say a few things. The first I would say is, and burnout is real.
Yes, it is.
And I will tell you, I've experienced burnout. I took a sabbatical. I stepped back and I decided to make my life around my work around my life instead of my life around my work.
Perfect.
So for me, I think find something you love. Like my motto is, I want to laugh at least, I mean, I'm talking a big belly laugh, at least once a day. Michelle, thank you very much. I've had like 10 or 20. I'm good for the week, okay? I'm good for the week, probably the month. But you know, find something that really brings you joy. And you know, and I find things that bring me joy every day. It could be something small or something big. I love to work out, and every day, you know, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and every day I go to the gym, I walk in my neighborhood. I do something that physically, that helps me get ready for the day. So find that thing that helps you release whatever that tension you may have. And then the third thing I would say, my sister says I'm addicted to joining because I'm on like 9 boards, but I love to give back. Nothing gives me greater joy than working with a nonprofit and helping that nonprofit, you know, and usually it's like a service type of a nonprofit, but help other people through work. It's either through my mind with strategy, or it's through the work, my hands. I'm out there really doing something physically with my hands. So find your joy, find a way to release the tension, and give back.
All right, thank you so much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Tamara McLaurin. I am the Director of Programs for the Atlanta Chapter. And I just want to say thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause.